Hey everybody, welcome to the Conscious Love Show. Whether you are single, you are in a relationship, or you're healing a broken heart, this show is here to inspire you, to remind you how beautiful, lovable, and amazing you truly are, and to give you the practical tools and insights to navigate from wherever you are right now to the loving relationship that you so deeply want to have. My name is Shane Kohler. I'm a certified transformational coach and trainer with over a decade experience helping people release their trauma and open their hearts to love. I've delivered seminars all over the world, coached thousands of people through my online platforms and programs, and every week I'm coming straight to you with the hottest insights and the best teachers around, bringing you powerful resources and profound conversations to heal your relationship with love, dating, and yourself. I'm so grateful you're here, and if it's your first time, welcome. You can count on me to always show up for you with my very best and a commitment to learn and grow myself so I can serve you to my maximum ability. Thanks so much for tuning into the show. I've got some awesome things planned for you today. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Conscious Love Show. Shane Kohler here. Pleasure to be back with you today. And in today's episode, I have something really special for you. So I recently interviewed a friend and past client of mine named Stephanie, and she is sharing her incredible journey of her path to creating conscious love. So this is a story just filled with magic and miracles and the most incredible, one of the most incredible stories I've heard. I'm so excited to have her share it with you. You can hear it directly from the source, from her heart, and all of these things that have happened in her journey. Can't wait for you to hear it. I hope you enjoy it. Sending you lots of love, and thanks for tuning in today. Hey everybody, today I'm going to be interviewing a friend and a past client of mine named Stephanie. So Stephanie is really amazing. She graduated the Inspired Love program in 2023. And has since done some really, really amazing things in her life, which I'm going to let her tell you all about today. But I've known Stephanie for a long time, and it was really great. She wanted to join the program last year, and she jumped right in with us, dove into it, did a lot of real awesome work on herself, and she has created really amazing things to show for it. So I'm really excited to just have her share her story with everybody. And thanks for joining me today, Stephanie.
Hey Shane. Yeah, thank you so much. It's honestly an honor to be sitting here talking to you today about results. And I believe that doing the program with you had so much to do with where I'm at right now. So it feels really good to be here right now.
Yeah, well, I'm really grateful you're taking the time to share with us. And maybe we can just start there. So where is it that you are right now that it feels so great to be? Just tell us about that.
Yeah, so in general, I think I'll take it back to looking at my intention board that I created when I first got out to California, which was about 3 years ago. I created an intention board, a vision board, and a lot of the things on there, it was a conscious relationship was kind of set front and center for me. I had my career, I had so many things, where I was living, what I was doing. And yesterday, I just found myself in such a space of gratitude because so much of that has manifested. And when you sit there and kind of reflect on what it took to get there, it's just such a good feeling, and you can't help but feel full, abundant, and just full of gratitude. So since the program, actually kind of still during the program, it was week 10, I believe. I had a really good friend of mine. He had been my friend for 8 years. And we actually met at a transformational workshop where you and I had met many moons ago. And he called me and he said, "Hey, I'm going to be in San Francisco. I was wondering if we could connect and just hang out." And usually I have friends come to visit and hang out in California, go to the redwoods, go to the beach. And I didn't think much of it other than, okay, yeah, come by, you have a place to stay. And he came by. We had just completed our week 10 in the program. And I was incredibly intentional during those weeks. I was so hell bent on, if I'm not going to waste time with potential anymore, I am going to take my time. I am going to assess people. I am not going to jump in just based on physical chemical attraction anymore. I really want to hold space for myself and for what it is that I'm creating, what intentions I'm putting out there for the right person. And so, my friend comes and sparks are flying, and it's not totally new sparks. Like, there had always been sparks here and there throughout the years. And it just really, really flowed this time. And it felt totally different. It felt very new. It didn't feel like just a fleeting feeling. It really felt like I was able to see him fully. I was able to see the man for who he was. He was also on his journey. He had taken transformational work very seriously as well. And we fell in love. We fell in love, and we decided to shortly date afterwards and kind of do the long distance thing. And it really helped that my coach had been in a long distance relationship for so long, because that supported me. And we made it work. And it did come with its challenges.
Yeah.
And it blossomed. It was a partner that I felt very safe with, and I felt held and comfortable with. And yeah, I'll share a little bit more later.
Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful place to start. And just a couple things as you were sharing is like I love that you weren't like out on the prowl, like trying to make this happen, but you're like working on yourself, focused on yourself, and this just came into your life. So maybe you could share like what your thoughts are on, what you had to do to be ready to even like receive this into your life.
Yeah. Okay. So, like I said, we had met about 8 years prior at a transformational workshop. And I would say when I joined this workshop, uh, I was pretty rock bottom. I was pretty low. And, on the outside, on the surface area, everything looked great. You know, like the list that you're supposed to accomplish in your lifetime: buy a house, get the education. I was a single mom of two boys. My boys were doing well in school. I just, on paper, it all looked great. But on the inside, I had no life in me. And it was very difficult to keep going. And someone introduced me to this workshop, and I was like, what do I got to lose? Honestly, like, sure, why not? And I walked into it super skeptical, but it really, that was like the pivotal point in my life where I realized that there was something else besides what was in my little box. And the work continued. I feel that for many years, I sought coaching. You were my coach at one point. I was struggling in relationships at the time. I did, gosh, so many like little programs here and there, either to support me with career, finding myself, whatever it was. I always dabbled with some kind of program, some kind of coaching program. And at some point, I was born and raised in Miami, Florida, and I felt called to leave Florida. And moved to California, and I kind of just like packed my bags with my boys and came to California. And at the time I didn't know I was officially moving to California, but it happened that way. As a child, I remember saying that for so long. I want to live in Northern California. And it turns out I'm living in Northern California. And I would say the second huge pivotal point in my life was being here and connecting a lot with nature. Uh, I would do things that I never really found myself doing much of, but like being outside and dancing and communing with nature and doing yoga and meditating. And really, I wasn't a part of any community or anything. I was really just, I felt like a little monk in a cave, like just doing my thing and just finding myself, grounding myself, connecting with myself. And that was huge. It felt like Stephanie was meeting Stephanie and getting to know who I was before society had its grips in me.
I love that.
That got very clear. And I think when I felt drawn to your program, literally, like I've always seen you in my news feed. It wasn't anything new to see you there. But every time I saw you, or like even after seeing you, like the lingering thought of reach out to Shane, reach out to Shane. And I'm like, why? I think for me, it was like a joke to do a relationship program. Like it felt like desperate, like, oh, a woman's like so desperate to find a man and like complete her. And at that stage of the game, I was 34. I was poly at the time. I was kind of like not looking for a committed relationship anymore. I had given up. I had said for years, being a single mom, I wanna get married and I wanna have an extended family by the time I'm 35. But 34, no man's in sight. I was like, this isn't gonna happen. Like, it's just not for me anymore. I'm just gonna, you know, enjoy myself and see what it's like to not, put all my focus in one person who's gonna disappoint me. Like that was the mindset.
Yeah.
And you and I spoke, we connected, and I was so eager to see like what is it that, we might connect on? Like what is it here? And you shared about this program, and I just remember instantly being like, "No, Shane, I'm good. I do not need a relationship program. I'm happily single, enjoying my life." Kind of gave up on that theory, or that vision. And after our conversation, I just couldn't help but like the thoughts just kept coming to me, the feelings. And I'm like, Steph, you're avoiding something. You're avoiding something. And it just became really clear to me that no, I absolutely still want a conscious partnership, a loving, kind, you know, loving, orgasmic, like just all of it. Like I want all of that and I deserve that and it's got to be out there. So then I called you back and I was like, all right, let's do this.
Well, I love what you said too, and even though maybe you're like I'm good by myself, I don't need a relationship, I don't need a program. Like I think that's even a healthy stage to go through, right? Because maybe prior to that, you were very much like I need a relationship, right? So I think that is a healthy stage to go through. And then maybe like, from before where it's like, I need a relationship. Then you took time, move to California, get to know yourself. I love what you said, like, who is Stephanie before society kind of got its claws into me? like just who am I authentically? And you really took the time to figure that out and then circle back to your desire for a relationship, but from a very new place. And then when you were ready, the program was kind of the vehicle to take you from where you were at that time to the relationship that you wanted to have. Maybe you could
100%.
tell us a little bit about like what that journey was like, right? From there, and then what happened for you in the program that made you feel like you were, I mean, it's kind of funny, like during the program, this guy just comes into your life, right? But what happened for you during the program that made you feel like you were really ready for this?
Standing my ground. So I think during the program, I realized how many times I would put myself out there with the hopes that somebody else would choose me.
Mm.
Uh, you know, and if they didn't show up that way, I felt like a little girl who was having a tantrum and just like kicking and screaming and like wanting them to change, wanting them to show up for me, wanting them to validate me. And it never worked. It for me, it never worked that way. And during the program, it got so clear for me that yes, the attention gets to be on me and what it is that I'm creating, and gets so hell bent on being my own validation, being my own support, my own advocate, maintaining the practice on a daily basis. All of these things that were just like pouring into myself. And I remember at the time there was an ex-boyfriend of mine that I still uh, loved very much, and I wished that things would have worked out between him and I. Uh, I thought that he was like the mountain man that I was like looking for all these years, and I remember we were still good friends. We still cared for one another. And I remember he had invited me over for dinner. And I simply asked him, I was like, you know, I love you. You know, I appreciate your friendship in my life. And what I shared with you of what I'm up to and what I'd like to create in my life is still very valid for me. And if you feel that you can show up for me in that capacity, then great. But if not, and you're still feeling this hesitancy, or you're unsure, or you can't meet me where I'm at, then I don't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm not here for it either, So, and thankfully, and he was very honest. And he said, I do love you. I do care for you very much, but I don't feel like I can give you what it is that you're asking for. So I think it's probably a good idea that we cancel our dinner. And so, kudos to him, because there's a lot of men out there who probably will uh, play along for quite an extended amount of time, right? But I appreciated that so much and respected him so much for that. And maybe it had a lot to do with my come from as well. But that simply allowed me to gracefully close that door and say, okay, that is not it. I'm setting it aside. I'm also not going to go run to the next thing for validation. And I'm just going to put all my focus on what I'm doing, which was your program. And I didn't miss a single week. I was there all the time, on time. I participated, did all my homework. And I remember like journaling, and I would journal to this person that I was calling into my life.
Yeah.
And yeah, it didn't take very long for it was like me simply aligning to what it is that I said that I wanted. And it just showed up when it was supposed to show up at the perfect time.
Yeah, I love that. And what you just mentioned, like the way you communicated with that guy was super powerful, like clear, direct communication. I'm just curious, was that kind of communication a breakthrough for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I think looking back on past relationships, uh, I always, I always either was the little girl with the tantrum, upset because maybe I didn't communicate effectively. And then later on, I'd explode because I would be upset that they weren't showing up the way I would like them to show up for me. Or it was dismiss it and just wait for them to change, which again would lead to upset. And so like being able to sit down with somebody from a space of love and respect and understand that if they don't show up for you, it doesn't have anything to do with you, like me, right? So if he wasn't showing up the way that I wanted him to, it's not a big deal. It's simply where he's at, and I can't blame him for it. It doesn't mean that I love him any less. It simply means that I love what I'm up to and it's more important. And yeah, it allows me to walk away with a clear mind and heart.
Mhm. That is super cool. And I love everything you just said. And it's, it's not that you love him less, but it's that you love yourself more, right? And kind of getting those priorities in order, where I think so many of us, it's like, well, I love myself, but I really love this person a little bit more, and I'm just going to do whatever I can to keep them in my life. And that's just not good energy. I see the look on your face right now. You're like, ew, you know. Yeah, that is so cool. I want to touch on something else you said earlier because, you were saying like, I don't think I need a relationship program. But then as you were talking about it, you talked about like standing your ground and learning to kind of reparent yourself and be your own advocate. And so I'm just curious on, going into it thinking like, I don't know if I need a relationship program, but then actually experiencing the program, what was it about it that you felt like you actually did need?
Ooh, I didn't even know that I needed it for the things that actually showed up. So beyond just calling in this incredible relationship that I'm in right now, uh, it was more. It was finding the sense of worthiness that that helped me held me in the direction of what it is that Stephanie wants to create in her life when it comes to her career. I think for me, there was a lot of great things in my life at the time, but what was kind of out of whack, and they kind of say this, right? What you do in one part of your life, it shows up in other realms of your life, or how you do one thing is how you do another. And it's true. It showed up in various parts of my life where I was selling out on myself because there was this underlining conversation that still said your feelings of unworthiness are attracting these experiences. And the program, whether it was, I forgot the name of the scale of the vibrations based on your emotions. Yeah,
Levels of
you're
energy.
muted. What?
The levels of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, for example, that, right? The levels of energy showed me where I was at, where I was vibrating from. And then I could see different areas of my life because you become this like super observer, especially when you're in a group with other people and you're constantly looking at yourself, looking at the experiences of other women and relating it to your own experience. And I couldn't help but see it from a bird's eye view. And you being there to kind of guide us, orient us, and really put the magnifying glass on it, it's kind of like, poof, you can't help but see it.
Yeah.
So for me, being aware of, oh, I'm operating from a space of fear right now. Where do I get to be? I want to be in a space of love so that I can magnetize these things. I don't know if I'm going off topic here, but this is where I'm getting at. And what has also shown up in my life very recent is the clarity on what it is that I want to do, what it is, what gifts I want to put out into the world. And it might start off in one domain in your life, but it starts to kind of trickle everywhere else. And I would say at the end of all of this, it simply has to do with where I'm coming from, which is a place of worthiness, and I deserve it. I'm abundant. And I don't believe I was there yet when we first started our program.
Yeah. No, I think it's so powerful what you're saying. And like, even calling it a relationship program could be a little misleading because what it really is like a being the most complete version of yourself program. Through that comes relationship, through that comes an exciting career, through that comes making a difference in the world, like through that comes everything, right? And you're you're a great example of how that works. So that's really cool. Maybe you could tell us a little bit. I know you've had some recent developments and things that have happened, and just also just some really cool like miracles, in terms of timing and things that you've shared with me. Tell us a little bit about what's been happening. Or first, how long have you and him been dating now? Tell us that.
Not as long as I thought it should have taken for us to be where we're at right now. Well, like I said, we've been friends for over 8 years. And in those 8 years, because him and I were on the path of self-development and transformation, we've always been there for one another. Whether it's in his relationships and maybe he's sharing with me what he's experiencing. And very much when I'm lost in my relationships, I would contact him and we would support one another. And before leaving California, before leaving Florida to come to California, we had a moment where we had kind of connected on a more intimate experience with one another, where I was sitting across from him and I'm like, this is odd. I'm feeling attraction to my best friend. This is weird. I don't know what's going on here.
I'm gonna want to touch on that. Continue, but I'm gonna want to come back to that. Go ahead.
Okay. And I shared it with him. I was like, I don't know what's happening here. We were sitting across from one another, which took me back to the very first time we met. We were sitting across from each other during an exercise, a very beautiful, intense exercise, where we're eye gazing with one another. But I didn't realize that it seemed very similar to that first time. And I felt this attraction to him and I voiced it to him. And, I'm leaving to California now. And we decided at that time, well, let's explore and see if there's something here. And we did. And I took off and something happened where I simply felt like I wasn't getting the attention that I wanted. And so I decided to self-sabotage and I called an ex-boyfriend of mine. And
An interesting pattern right there.
yeah, and it's nothing new. I went to something that was more normal for me, which was somebody who didn't fully choose me, somebody who just, I won't go into too much details, but I remember at that time, or that relationship, you helped coach me through it at some point. Fast forward, I had been in California for about 2.5 years. Me and this person maintained contact. And I remember, him coming here and me being a part of this program. I kind of forgot the question. Do you want to remind me real quick?
Well, I was asking about kind of where you guys are now, but I think what you're saying is great. So just keep going with it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the relationship organically developed. And of course, we have this long history. So it was very easy for the both of us to open up to one another. We know each other so well. We know each other's kind of um, low points, each other's high points. So that helped a lot. The communication was always very honest and forthcoming. Vulnerability was not a problem in the relationship. And then although we wanted to take our time, we wanted to date one another before committing to full on boyfriend girlfriend. We're doing this long distance thing. Let's, make this work. We want to set a proper foundation, XYZ. Long story short, we're in this relationship and we find out that I'm actually pregnant. And that to me was a huge shocker. We had he took me to Mexico for my birthday. And it was my 35th birthday. And I just remember when we found out that I was pregnant, I realized, or we all realized, that I actually conceived in Mexico at 35. And I don't know if you remember in the beginning of this recording, I said I wanted to be married and I wanted to have kids by the time I was 35. And I thought that that was like not going to happen for me anymore. And sure enough, like it was happening. And for me, it brought up a ton of insecurities at that time, because although yes, I was happy with this person and I really wanted this deep down inside, a huge part of me was like, oh my God, here I am having, I'm pregnant and I'm having another child out of wedlock. Like this is not what I wanted. I wanted to be married. I had all these fears and conversations coming up for me again. And at the time, I wasn't in your coaching program anymore. I was simply in my experience. I'm hella hormonal, and I'm having my stuff come up, my fears. And thankfully, because of the kind of person that I had attracted in my life, he had held space for me so beautifully. And that's to say that when I get in my stuff, I can still get in my stuff pretty heavily. Uh, and so I feel like a lot of people might look at me and think, oh, she has her shit together. Stuff doesn't come up for her. That's not true. Like stuff comes up for me all the time. But the way that I'm able to communicate that with the people around me, whether it's my partner, whether it's my kids, and how we're able to, like, we all take accountability for where we're at feelings wise. And, if we're having a hard time communicating it because we're in our experience, hey, take time to be in your experience, come back, I'll be here. Those kind of things, it really supports, especially me going through that, to get out of my experience and to realize that I am caught up in a narrative that is holding me to the Stephanie that didn't feel worthy of finding that kind of love or this kind of fairy tale. To me, this stuff only happened in movies and it wasn't real. Yeah. So right now, today, actually, I'm stepping into my third trimester. Incredibly happy. We're going to have our baby celebration in a few weeks. I'll be going to Florida to spend time with friends and family on both of our ends. And he's packing up and he's moving here, and we're stepping into this totally new journey that was completely unplanned. And I actually think it's wonderful because as much as we want to plan our lives, I feel like God it just looks down and is like, okay, you have your plan, but my plan is better. So buckle up. So
Yeah,
I'm
love
in a
that.
space of surrender and trust these days.
And I just want to point something out for, whoever's listening to this and maybe or maybe didn't catch it, but I think it's so powerful the process you're describing here, where a long time ago you said, I want to be with my partner and have another child by the time I'm 35. And then even got to a point in your life where you kind of let go of that, right? It's like that's probably not going to happen. And what I know about manifestation is even that stage is very important because you can't be attached to it, right? If you're attached to it, you're kind of pushing it away. So even the part about I said what I wanted, then I let go of it, then I worked to bring myself in alignment with my heart's desires, and then it comes full circle without you even asking, you're given exactly what you wanted. And I just like this is one of the most incredible stories of that I've ever heard. I just think it's so beautiful.
And I spent years saying that, years. So, I just remember telling myself 35 is the cutoff point. Like after that, that's it. And, my boys are older. My boys are right now 19 and 15. So you would think that someone who's at that age, and I was, my mindset at 34 was cool. I get to travel the world. I get to explore. I get to adventure. And one day I'll have grandchildren that I can be a part of their lives. To me, it no longer was relevant if it happened or not. So going through that experience of unattachment, but then realizing, wait a minute, it's not too late for me. I can do this. I want to do this. And it didn't come from this space of desperation. It didn't come from this space of like I'm settling for the next best thing. It was really me getting so full is the word that I'm thinking, like so satisfied with myself in everything and really just honoring who I was. And then it's like my eyes just like I looked at him when he got here and I realized like, oh my God, this man is fine. Like in all definition of the word, like not just physically, but internally, like, a man who really honors and values the work and like how important that was for me at the time. And I was just like, how did I not see him all these years before? Like,
Well, and
what?
that's what I want to ask you about because so there's it's a very common thing, and I know you know this, where that safe, secure, awesome person is great to have as a best friend, but you don't really want to date that person. At least a lot of people don't really want to date that person. And it sounds like that was you, right? Like here's this great guy in your life, but all these years he was the best friend. He was never the one you were attracted to. What changed that?
I don't think it had anything to do with what I did alone. I think it had, he was on his own journey of self discovery as well. And he had his own experiences as well. Obviously, me shifting from the one who is always choosing, and I had this habit of wanting to fix people um, or help people. Like, I had this strong habit of doing that. I'd always see potential in people.
Mhm.
And realizing at some point that the only reason I was doing that was because I was avoiding looking at my own stuff. So it was easier for me to put my attention on their stuff and try to fix them. Um, which again, it doesn't work. uh, but he was going through his own experience in his life for the last 36 years. And I believe that and he was in a men's group as well for the last 2 years. Both of us being so committed to creating this life that we wanted, not just the relationship that we were calling in, but everything else. Like we took it so seriously. I think that once we got to that point, we were able to find each other and be able to be on the same
Yeah.
timeline. And it just matched up perfectly.
Hey there, if you've made it this far in the episode, then I want to jump in with a special invitation for you. You've probably heard me mention Inspired Love at least once or twice on the show, and Inspired Love is my private coaching program. It's the culmination of over 15 years of healing work, and we have recently reopened the program for enrollment. Through an in-depth exploration in all 4 dimensions of human experience, that's body, mind, emotion, and spirit, the process allows you to bring balance to anxious, avoidant, or disorganized patterns, to heal and somatically release childhood trauma, to grow spiritually, and to approach intimate relationships from a healthy, emotionally regulated, and secure place. Our students commonly report that they have never seen anything quite this comprehensive. While many teachers offer courses to improve relationship skills or heal insecure attachment styles, it's rare to find something that works in all dimensions of your being. And I specifically designed the program this way because in my experience, any true healing process must address all of these elements to have any real chance of success. I know what it feels like to crave love on the deepest levels, while simultaneously feeling unworthy or hopeless around it. I know the fear of struggling in relationships and doubting they will ever work out for you. I watched my mother suffer in and out of 4 abusive marriages. I have 4 sisters and I've watched them struggle. I've been through it myself. I know that lack of love can be one of the most painful and lonely experiences, and I created this program because I know a way out of that, and I'm inspired to share it with others. Now, I don't know if this is the right thing for you or not. What I do know is it's changed the lives of so many people, and it continues to do so on a weekly basis. So if you're ready for a big change in your love life, and you're ready to get the most out of your life overall and stop wasting time, in the description below this episode, you can book a free call with another graduate of the program. She can tell you how it's changed her life and share how it might be helpful for you. If it feels right, jump in with us. If not, don't. But don't ignore this opportunity when it could make all the difference in the world for you. Go ahead, book your free intro call at the link in the description, and thanks for listening today.
His past experiences, although I don't care to hear about them too much, when I do hear about it, I'm just so grateful that he went through them, because I genuinely feel like it prepared him for me as well. So yeah, that's it.
And I love something you said is like I was seeking people, who were like projects or people that I needed to fix or work on because that was a way of you avoiding yourself. And it's like as long as you were avoiding yourself, you could never be ready for this kind of relationship. And so you would have to, as a result, seek that quality of relationship. And it's just such a testament to everything you've shared about taking that time to really get to know yourself and bring yourself into alignment without, when am I going to meet someone, or, how am I going to have this happen? But just really, I'm going to get to know myself, fall in love with myself, and let my life come from that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I mean, you've shared so many beautiful things today, and it's been really wonderful. Is there anything you feel like maybe we haven't touched on that you'd like to share?
Mm, yeah, there's like one thing that I like spoke about it this morning with somebody, uh, an old school friend of mine. And I was speaking to her, and she mentioned to me, I, s- I congratulated her. I said something along the lines like, I see you doing the work. Like, I'm proud of you. And her response was, I'm nowhere near where I want to be yet, and kind of not happy with where she was in the journey yet. Like, and I remember being so hard on myself over the many years that I had been doing the work. And I just always remember being like beating myself up because I'm like, oh, I've been doing work for all these years on myself and I'm still not where I want to be, and I'm still not there yet. And I don't believe that one program is simply going to like change everything in your life, right? Uh, I strongly believe that it's a journey. And I think for me, what I realized looking back on all of this, every pivotal point in my life, every program that I've done, every coach, every interaction, not that it was like this total obsession, right? But it, like periodically, like I would do things for myself. Uh, I think it comes down to truly accepting and loving myself where I'm at and understanding that my wounds, my triggers, the stuff that, I spent years thinking was true about me, they're always going to be there somewhere. They're always going to come up. But if I can lovingly be with them and accept them in a way where I'm not judging them or criticizing them or making myself bad or wrong for having that experience, then I believe that that is where the freedom really lies. Because once I accept them, it like the saying, what you resist persists. If I'm constantly resisting this pattern about myself, it's constantly going to show up. It's either going to show up in another person, in another job, in another interaction with somebody. It's always going to show up for me to look at it and heal it. But when I can lovingly be with it and be like, it's okay, Steph, like, don't worry, like what can I as an adult Stephanie now give to the little Steph that's experiencing this lack of worthiness? Then that's the true work, is when I can sit there for myself and hold myself the way that I wanted to be held when I was a little girl and I didn't. And I think for anyone who's listening, it's like, be with yourself the way that you would want to be held if you were going through this experience. And no child wants to feel judged or shamed for having a upset experience, a jealous experience, a sad experience. We want to be loved. We want to be nurtured. We want somebody to hold space for us and to remind us of our value and our worth so we can remember. And I think when I have somebody else in my corner who is doing that for me as well as me, I feel totally unstoppable.
I love that. That is really, really amazing. Well, I think you've answered all of my questions and you've shared so many beautiful things today. So thank you so much. It's been wonderful to have you on, and I just appreciate your generosity and being willing to let us know your experience and how the program supported you and, the amazing miracles that have occurred as a result. So it's been a pleasure to be able to work with you and to see how things have unfolded for you since. And just thank you so much for being here today and sharing with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you in my life. You
Likewise.
and Fatima, both of you.
We appreciate you as well. Likewise. I'll just share one little thing real quick. This is a funny little memory I have of you. I remember, God, this is probably 5 years ago or something, but you were in a Facebook group with us, and you had asked a question about when a guy pulls a seat out for you, how do you like let him push it back in while you're sitting down?
That's
Do you remember
hilarious.
that?
Yes.
Such a great question. I love that.
My boyfriend always pulls the chair out for me. Always. And I love it. I absolutely love it. But at that time, I thought it was like the weirdest thing. Like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to like sit, but then get up so he can scoot it in? It was like the most awkward thing for me. And now I just stand there, let him pull my chair out, then I sit, he pulls, and I'm like, oh, I'm used to this now.
But it was a perfectly valid question. I was like, that's a good question. I mean, nobody's ever pulled a seat out for me. I don't know what I would do, but that was great. I remember, and it's been great to witness you from then until now, and I think it's wonderful that you have someone who always pulls your chair out. So that's beautiful. Well, thank you again, Steph. Pleasure being with you today, and thanks for sharing with us.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks again for checking out the show. Please subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on the most. And I would love it so much if you leave a review and tell people what you think of us. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at The Living Relationship to connect more closely. And I'm grateful to be supporting you on your journey to love.